My girlfriend's father pulled me aside at dinner and said, I need to tell you something about Emma. We were at their house for Sunday dinner when her dad asked to speak with me privately. He led me to his garage and locked the door behind us. Emma's been lying to you. His hands were shaking. About everything. I laughed nervously. Mr. Harris, what are you talking about? She doesn't have a job. She's never worked at that marketing firm. He pulled out his phone and showed me bank statements. I've been giving her $3,000 a month for 2 years. She told me you didn't make enough to support both of you. My stomach dropped. Emma made $85,000 a year. She'd shown me her offer letter. That's not possible. I've seen her pay stubs. Fake. I had a private investigator verify it. He swiped through photos. Emma leaving our apartment at 9 a.m. in business clothes. Emma at a coffee shop until noon. Emma coming home at 6 p.m. like she'd been working. Where does she go all day? Mr. Harris's jaw tightened. She sits in that coffee shop for 9 hours, every single day, same table, same blank expression. The barista told my investigator she never orders anything after the first coffee, just sits there staring. I stared at the photos, something was very wrong. There's more. He pulled up documents. 3 years ago, before you met her, Emma had a severe breakdown. She was hospitalized for 8 months. When I asked where she was, she told you she was studying abroad in Italy, didn't she? My throat closed. Yes, she was in a long-term treatment facility. His voice cracked. She's been on medication since then. Antipsychotics, mood stabilizers. She's supposed to take them every day. Why are you telling me this now? Because she stopped taking them 6 weeks ago. He showed me a photo of a trash can filled with pill bottles. Full bottles, unopened. I found these this morning hidden in her childhood bedroom closet. My hands started shaking. Last night, Emma told her mother that a stranger has been living in her apartment. She described you perfectly. Your height, your hair, your voice. But she doesn't recognize you as her boyfriend anymore. She thinks you're an imposter. The garage felt like it was closing in. This morning she asked me where her real boyfriend is. She said the man living with her is pretending to be you, and she needs to make him leave. Mr. Harris grabbed my shoulders. She called you the replacement. She's convinced you're not real. I backed against the workbench. She's never said anything like that to me. Because she's hiding it from you, the same way she hid it from her last boyfriend. His face went pale. The relationship ended badly. Very badly. He had to move to a different state and get a restraining order. What did she do? I can't give you details because of the legal settlement, but he was hurt, hospitalized, and Emma doesn't remember any of it. She genuinely believes he abandoned her. He was crying now. My daughter is sick. I love her more than anything, but I cannot watch this happen again. Mr. Harris, I can't just leave her. You have to. Tonight, before she stops seeing you as her boyfriend completely. He gripped my arm. Once she fully believes you're an imposter, I don't know what she'll do, and she won't remember doing it. I felt sick. Does Emma know you're telling me this? No. She'd think I'm part of the conspiracy, that I'm working with you to replace her real life. He looked broken. Please, pack your essential things while she's still at dinner. I'll keep her downstairs. I walked back into the house on shaking legs. Emma was laughing at something her mom said. She looked so normal, so happy. She saw me and smiled. There you are, babe. Everything okay? Yeah, your dad was just showing me his tools. She kissed my cheek. My skin crawled because I didn't know if she saw me or someone else. We finished dinner. I helped clear plates, acted normal. At 9 p.m., Emma went upstairs to change. I grabbed my laptop, my wallet, my keys, and the clothes I was wearing. Left everything else. I drove to my brother's house and told him everything. Emma called 52 times that night. I didn't answer. The next morning, Mr. Harris called. She knows you're gone. She's been sitting in your empty apartment for hours. She thinks you're hiding from her, that you're testing her. I'm so sorry. Don't be. You saved your life. His voice was shaking. We're getting her back into treatment today. She needs help we can't provide. Will she be okay? Eventually, with the right medication and therapy. He took a shaky breath, but she'll never forgive you for leaving. In her mind, you abandoned her for no reason. 3 weeks later, I got a letter from Emma, written from the treatment facility. I know you're not the real version of the man I loved. The real him would never leave. But thank you for finally admitting you were fake. It's easier now that I know the truth. I hope whoever you replaced is still alive somewhere. I miss him. I read it 5 times, crying. She still doesn't believe I'm real. Her dad sends updates. She's back on medication. Doing better. Remembers me now. After 8 years of sacrifice helping my wife become a lawyer, she handed me divorce papers the day she passed the bar exam. I don't need you anymore, she said. I have my license. She had no idea. I was already 3 moves ahead. When I first met her, she wasn't the monster people expect me to describe. She was decent, supportive, cooked when I came home late, picked up groceries sometimes. She had a plan. Law school, bar exam, career, future. That word hooked me. My nights were spent working double shifts. She was buried in textbooks. We ate frozen dinners more nights than I can count. No vacations, but I believed in the grind. When she said, once I pass the bar, everything will be different, I bought into it like gospel. Then, somewhere between her last year of classes and bar prep, things shifted. Instead of our future, she started saying, my career. One night, I mentioned finally taking that trip we'd kept putting off. She didn't look up from her notes. That's not a priority for me right now. My career is what matters. Bills sat unopened. Dishes piled up. If I had a rough week at work, she'd barely react. I told myself it was stress. Looking back, those weren't temporary cracks. They were the real her slipping through. The bar exam results came out on a Tuesday. When she screamed, I thought it was joy for us. She turned the screen toward me. I passed. No, we did it. Just I. That night, her classmates organized a dinner downtown. When dessert rolled around, she slid a manila envelope across the table. Divorce papers. Her face was calm, cold, rehearsed. I already signed my part. All you need to do is finish it. I don't need you anymore. I have my license. I have job offers. You were helpful during school, but that chapter is over. Helpful. 8 years reduced to helpful. I thumbed through the papers. She divided what she wanted, the car, the apartment, furniture she'd never bought. She left me the legal bare minimum. What she didn't know was I'd been preparing for months. When the red flag started, I'd quietly moved my record collection to a storage unit, then my tools, my grandmother's china. The apartment looked the same, but it was a furnished shell. I'd funneled money into a separate account she didn't know existed. The lease, my name, utilities, my name, the car she drove, registered to me, payments from my account. When she smugly pushed that envelope across the table, she wasn't taking anything. I signed the acknowledgement of service. Her expression shifted with every stroke. She expected begging. Congratulations, I said, sliding the papers back, on passing the bar and on your divorce. That's it? You're not even going to... Why would I fight for someone who just called me dead weight? I walked out. No yelling, no begging. Just gone. Within weeks, her fantasy collapsed. That shiny job, junior associate, 80-hour weeks, barely more than I'd made. 6 figures of law school debt waiting. The apartment, I'd terminated the lease. When she tried to stay, the landlord said she'd have to reapply. Her credit wasn't good enough. I'd shut off every utility. She walked into 4 walls with no power, no internet, no shot at staying. She ended up with 2 roommates. One asked her, "So you dumped the guy who paid for everything, and now you can't cover your share?" I relocated to San Francisco. New apartment, new job, and for the first time in a decade, my life was mine. She tried calling constantly, different numbers every day, texts about regret and second chances. I didn't reply. Silence was my weapon. She showed up at my workplace claiming family emergency. HR escorted her out. She started parking outside my house. I filed a police report. The real confrontation came at Home Depot. I was loading lumber when I heard her voice. "Please, just give me 5 minutes." She looked wrecked. Dark circles. Thinner than I remembered. 5 minutes for what? To apologize. To ask for another chance. You had 8 years of chances. I was stressed. I've regretted it every day. Which part? Calling me dead weight? Or realizing that dead weight was keeping your whole life afloat? I love you. I always did. You loved what I provided. There's a difference. I pulled out 2 things. 1. Restraining order. Signed yesterday. 2. My wedding invitation. Her face drained of color. The following week, she erupted in my office lobby. Full meltdown. Screaming, crying, shouting that I owed her. Security dragged her out while people recorded. My company filed a harassment report. Combined with the restraining order, it went to her law firm. They called it a liability issue. Pack your desk. The state bar suspended her license. Her parents cut her off. Her dad told family, "She's no daughter of mine. No career, no husband, no family, just debt and memories of what she threw away."
My father called his affair son the child he always wanted. I made him lose both families. My dad was always this larger-than-life guy who coached my little league team and never missed a school play. He'd wake up at 5 to make me pancakes shaped like dinosaurs before school and taught me to drive in the parking lot of an abandoned mall. When I graduated from high school, he cried harder than my mom. He had this workshop in the garage where we'd build model airplanes every Sunday, and he'd tell me stories about his dad doing the same with him. I thought I had the best father in the world. Even through college, he'd call me every Wednesday just to check in and send care packages with homemade cookies and stupid dad jokes written on index cards. That all changed 6 months ago at my cousin Allie's wedding. Dad was giving a toast when this woman walked in with a teenage boy. Dad went white and dropped his champagne glass. Mom asked who they were, and the woman said she was Denise and the boy was Tyler, my dad's son. Turns out Dad had a whole other family for 14 years. Tyler was 3 years younger than me. The math was pretty easy to figure out. While Dad was teaching me to ride a bike, he was also buying Tyler his first tricycle. While he was at my basketball games, he was also at Tyler's soccer practice. Denise knew about us the whole time, but stayed because Dad paid for everything. Mom didn't know anything until that moment at the wedding. She walked out and filed for divorce the next day. Dad tried to explain, but there wasn't much to explain when Tyler looked exactly like him. The really sick part started after Mom moved out. Dad decided to bring Tyler around like everything was normal. He introduced Tyler to all his friends as his athletic son, who was going to play college football. He never mentioned I existed to these same people. At the hardware store, he told Carl, who'd known me since I was 5, that Tyler was the son who actually enjoyed building things with him. I was standing right there. Carl looked at me, then back at Dad like he'd lost his mind. Dad started posting pictures with Tyler on Facebook with captions about finally having someone who understood him. He wrote this long post about how Tyler was teaching him things about being a father that he had never learned before. My aunt called me crying because she couldn't believe her brother would write that. The breaking point was Thanksgiving. Dad invited everyone to his house and said he wanted to introduce Tyler properly to the family. He stood up before dinner and gave this speech about how Tyler was the child he'd always dreamed of having, someone who shared his interests and made him proud every day. He said Tyler was his second chance at being the father he wanted to be. My mom's parents were there. They'd driven 3 hours because Dad begged them to meet Tyler. Grandpa stood up and left without eating. Grandma followed. Dad kept going, talking about how Tyler was everything he'd hoped for in a son. That's when I decided Dad needed to lose both families. First, I reached out to Denise, told her I wanted to get to know Tyler better. She was thrilled because she thought it meant more money from Dad if we all got along. I found out that Dad had been telling Denise he was getting divorced for 14 years. He'd promised to marry her once I graduated high school, then college, then once I got a job. She'd been waiting for him to leave Mom the whole time. I asked Denise if she knew about Dad's gambling problem. She didn't know what I was talking about. I told her about his secret credit cards, the second mortgage he'd taken out, the retirement fund he'd emptied. All lies, but she didn't know that. I showed her fake bank statements I'd made showing Dad was $300,000 in debt. She panicked and started going through Dad's stuff when he was at work. She found the real bank statements, which showed he had plenty of money, just in an account she didn't have access to. She also found receipts for jewelry he'd bought that she'd never received. Turns out Dad had a third woman named Katie he'd been seeing for 2 years. Denise confronted Dad about Katie. Dad denied it until Denise called Katie right in front of him. Katie thought Dad was single and had been planning to introduce him to her parents at Christmas. Both women dumped him the same day. Tyler refused to see him after learning Dad had been lying to his mom their entire relationship, but that wasn't enough. Full story on channel, link below.